All right, y'all know how the music goes. Let's get this started. All right, this is stream number whatever it is today. Third, fourth. Trying again. This time I went ahead and pinned the link. I guess it's the end of the day. I'm a little more lax. No drama, no panel verse. We're pivoting. We're doing something different. Um, we're trying to do health, mental health, philosophy, support, autism, neurodivergence, a little bit of politics here and there. So if you have anything to contribute to that, come on up. Let me take a peek at the news. Sorry, hang on. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Let's see. All right. News. I'm sure it's nothing new. Did anything amazing, like earth shaking, happen since 3 hours ago? Trump campaign got hacked. That's the big news. The top headline: Russian warplanes are bombing Russia. Um, okay, well, that's all I see. Hey, Daniel Barry. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to you. I hope yours is going okay. Let's see what the disadvantage of doing these more frequent streams is I have less and less content when to open with, because I usually go off of the news and Twitter, and it doesn't change much. Oh, Aaron M Sound is streaming. Axis. Oh, and here's his rat. Rat blood is on. Maybe that's what we need is his rat. Maybe that can bring some healing. Mel is doing open panel. Oh, TML. Midbro is doing his ugly, annoying vertical streaming on Kamala Harris. LA Spike. Spike is live. Wow, I should have just maybe. Should I go drop on there? Maybe not. There's a lot of female energy. But anyway, it's good to see Spike live. And TML. Let's see what's going on there. Hank. Talcott's on there. Oracle. No, not laws. I enjoy. Um, yeah, why belabor it? You know what I think about you. You're a welcomed addition to the community. Hey, Anton, good to see you. You've been coming around a lot lately. Good to know you're out there. And I hope Saturday night is all right. I hope you're doing all right on this Saturday night. Besides, not loss. So what if you're a pest? We have plenty of pests here. You'll fit right in with all our other pests. As long as you don't get too personal or malicious with the attacks and on other commenters and cross like toss lines. I see a lot of attacks that can get kind of. Oh, really? I keep forgetting about my invisible audience because I have way more viewers than I realize. Because even after I stream, my view count goes up because people from like my larger audience go back and watch the videos on their own time. So that's other people watching the content that I'm not aware of. Plus, there's a whole silent audience that watches that might not interact or comment. So I honestly don't know who all I'm exposed to. But yeah, it's I really appreciate the just knowing that there's support out there, that there's people that are halfway, even halfway approving or affirming of what I'm doing, because it's getting hard. It's hard. I was making the comment to today to that sometimes the panelverse can it. I've never been on Big Brother or Survivor, but sometimes it looks almost harder than any of those games, and those are supposed to be really intense, human conflict, social dynamic games. Um, what else? What else? What else? I don't know. I'm just doing my part to keep the panel open. Got 24 more minutes. And then I might do one more late tonight if I'm still around. Hey, Bex. It's up to you. I don't know if y'all are watching anything right now or what you're watching, but if nobody shows up in the next 24 minutes, I'll be available for an episode. And of course, I always enjoy talking about your topics and anything y'all want to bring up as an audience. It's the end of the day here. I'm fresh out, folks. I don't have a lot of sizzle in me. Thanks, Frank. We could all suffer through it together. Do you think you might be up for another one? In say 23 minutes or so. I feel obligated to keep my commitment to keeping the stream going for at least half an hour, just in case there is conversation wanting to be had. Um, y'all make it a lot easier than it probably otherwise would be. Really, I don't know what to do. I'm not really a singer or a performer. Um, well, I thought this was one of your rare days of sitting at the PC anyway. Haven't you been loafing about, staying cool from the heat? I just pictured you more in a splayed position. A southern joke. I don't know if I have any. I have some Boudreaux and Thibodeau jokes, but I can't tell them on stream. They're Cajun jokes. Cajun jokes are like jokes about ignorant rural people, and it's always two guys. One's named Boudreaux, which is a last name, and Thibodeau, which is a last name, and they're two characters that always get involved in crazy, like they mistake or misunderstand things. That's how the joke ends up. But I can't think of a single one I could tell on stream. um, I'm not a good joke person, really. I don't like have jokes stored in my head. Plus, I'm not a good deliver. Like my delivery is. I'm trying to be the world's least funny comedian. You want me to tell a joke? Haven't. He would like that too much. All that butt touching. That's probably where he got it from. The wrong person touched your butt. Better make sure it's not. Get ready for it. Monkeypox. We need a soundboard. That was my attempt at one. I just got it, Daniel. It came to me in a flash, and I lost it on the house, like free. But she hears it and think, "Oh, okay, let me go grab it," and she climbs the roof. We actually, we used to party on our roof with beer, so that the beer really was on our house growing up. And we lived next door to a sheriff. I remember one night we had like stayed up all night partying, and it was one part of the house was like peak roof, but then there was a flat part of the roof over the carport that was flat, so you could stand on it like a, and it was you could have a bunch of people up there party. We'd bring our boom box, we'd bring a case of beer, we'd bring our cigarettes, and we would, and we one day we stayed up all night, and it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we decided we wanted to go out on the roof and watch the sun come up, and so we took all our gear up on that flat part of the roof, and we had our beers, and I remember we were playing the Supremes, and they wanted to dance to Stop in the Name of Love. And this was like just at dawn. And the sheriff was he was coming out and leaving for work, so he was pulling out of the driveway with his car. And he was coming down the road toward our house, and he looks up, and there's like 4 or 5 of us on the roof, mostly girls, me and my sisters and all her friends. And we're all doing the Supremes, like Stop in the Name of Love dance from the roof while he's going to work. And he just looks up at us and just shakes his head like that. And he just keeps on driving. And we thought that was so cool. A blonde's definition of Easter. Jesus comes out of the hole. I got that one too. Maybe I'm more blonde than I realized. I was a blonde growing up. Toe-headed was the exact word. Whatever color toe is. That's the phrase that keeps showing up in all my reports. Yeah, I got all of your jokes so far. That's miraculous. I'm not that good with getting humor. Especially conventional, like formalized jokes that are easily passed down and transmitted. Oh, I missed yours. Not Las. Oh, hang on. How many pallbearers at a Cajun funeral? You're not far off. You're not far off. Okay, we're gonna have a guest after all. We have Anton.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Grace us. Good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. What you got? What's up?
Well, what's going on, man? I saw that you were gonna talk about a few different directions. One of them was mental health, and that kind of caught my attention. And I'm trying to come up with a question. There's a few different directions I could go in, but like if you're going through a hard time, you, Jeff, what do you usually isolate yourself, or do you usually find people to talk to, or what do you usually do? Like, how do you deal with it if you're going through a really stressful time in your life?
Usually, in an ideal situation when I'm doing my self care and everything is at its best, I have over the years built up a little support network. I have a small list of people I can call when I need to talk, when I need to process, when I need to vent, when I have we call each other when we need that. We've built that up over the years. So that's always been reliable for me. But lately, what I've been doing, and I'm still trying to figure out how healthy it may or may not be. I've been coming on here. I've been using this. If you're stressed out, if there's no one to talk to, just go stream. It does two things. It exposes me to people potentially to talk to, so I don't have to go find them. And it switches my brain from like focusing on me to focusing on something else. Somebody else's conversation, some other topic, some neutral, third party, light entertaining topic. So if I can work it the right way, it can at least take my head out of my in the moment type of drama. And then it also has the potential, because it's a mental health channel and I'm trying to build a space where people are comfortable talking about their stresses, their mental health, and opening up and getting support. It kind of allows that to happen sometimes too. Now, I will admit I am not the best at opening up and asking for help when I need it. I try to be like the strong role for everybody else. I'm better at doing that. And then getting my own needs met separately.
Okay. I think that's a better option if you're better option. I like your idea of going online and streaming, in order to do that. I think some people could see that as an avoidance of some sort, but I don't see it that way. Because I think if you're going through a tough time and you choose to do something like watching a movie or scrolling online or eating food, that's kind of like a consumption kind of way of dealing with your problems. Whereas what you're doing, I see as more of a creative, where it's coming out of you instead of coming into you. You're like exploding with
Yes.
creative energy rather than just being passive about it and letting it come to you. And I think the passive way of dealing with things is more of an avoidance or more unhealthy than it is of trying to bring something out of yourself, which is what you're doing on here.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. I am trying to take the energy and channel it into something else and transform it to some other form of energy. And often that works. I will, but I am wired to the way my most effective way of addressing problems is to talk them out. I'm an extrovert. If I have another person I can process with for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, I'm usually good. If I can get that little processing time with another human being, or if I can talk out an issue I'm having with somebody. For some people that may be wired differently, something like some downtime or a movie or putting on a CD of relaxing music might be what works for them. So I don't want to. I want to keep all the options open for people that it does work for. But for me, it definitely helps me to take that energy, that stress and tension, and I've said this before. It's impossible for me to be stressed out and anxious and creative at the same time. It's just different parts of the brain. So if I can switch my brain to creative mode and do something constructive that engages that part of my brain, it instantly moves me out of that stress anxiety part. So sometimes just coming on here and doing a stream, this is my creative outlet. So it puts me in that creative mode where I can refocus on something other than the stress. And really, there's very little I can do on my own in my room if I'm agitated about something. It usually is not going to stop on its own, or anything I do without me talking to another person at some point. So I might as well just accelerate that process and go stick myself around people as soon as I can.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. Dealing with things on my end, I've always found the best success in creative, like being creative in some way. It's usually with my music, but if I can go out to the garage and try and build something, or I can clean the house or do something in that way that like keep my hands busy, or go and talk to someone like my parents or my wife or that kind of a thing. It's usually some sort of creative outlet, especially with music, that I find myself just getting sucked into when I'm trying to deal with something stressful going on in my life. It's almost like it comes out of me naturally and not something that I have to force. And it's kind of like what you're talking about is I don't find myself fighting against thinking about the stressful thing going on in my life. As soon as I start getting creative, it is like another part of my brain clicks on and it just has dominance, and I don't even have to. It's the stressful thing is no longer in my mind. So it gets kind of addicting that way.
Does the do you eventually make progress on the stressor? Like, does it resolve itself on its own, or do you still eventually have to go back and address it, or is just immersing yourself in something creative enough to kind of reset it and allow it to dissipate?
I would say talking about it out loud, trying to let the emotion, talking about it out loud with someone, possibly writing it down or typing it out on a like a Word document or something, and trying to let those emotions write a song or a riff of some sort. I would say those three things help me the most. And when I write about it, or sorry, when I create a song based on those emotions, it usually helps a lot because it kind of brings it out of me and puts it into the song. But I think the bigger things in my life, like the loss of my grandfather and the loss of my dog, those were two things that I had to keep revisiting over and over again
Yeah.
because it was just a very big thing that happened. And yeah.
Um, I had a question and I lost it. Hang on, it's gonna come back. Um, doing the outlet, resetting, talking to somebody, the emotions. Fuck. Oh well, I have to wait for it to come back.
Yep.
It
So
seemed like a
it's
good one.
revisiting it and coming back to it definitely helps. Talking about it out loud, I've usually found success with that. Either with someone or by myself. I don't know how common that is, and I don't know how mentally unhealthy it is, but I've
I,
always
I
been someone who talks to myself, usually like out in the woods or in my bedroom by myself, that kind of a thing. Usually have
hmm
conversations with myself.
Oh yeah, I talk to myself all the time. Uh, you have like both. You have the options of people to talk to when you need it, and you have outlet, like some kind of physical, like music or going in your shop. And I think that's a very male way of handling things. Sometimes is if they can just go build something or make something, they get it out. But having that person to talk to along with that when you need it, I think, kind of broadens your toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
So creative outlet or some kind of productive outlet, and also like building a system of trusted people to help you process and talk to when you need it. I think are all good things to have if you don't already. And if you those of you that are stressed or struggling or whatever and like you're new to this or you're not sure what to do, just come here. There's people here that can talk to you, help you figure it out. Just reach out and open up. That's the important thing. Don't be. I guess I understand the resistance, but there's people that can help. There's help. There's hope, and there's help.
Yep. And if you cannot find help, there's always psilocybin.
If you cannot find psilocybin, I guess come here. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You talked about journaling and writing it out sometimes, putting in a song.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use this as my journal. I'll come here and I'll open a stream and I'll get my thoughts out. I'll do a monologue and I'll get them on video so that if I need to go back to them later, I can review them. But just the act of recording them and getting them down for future reference helps sometimes too. And
Yeah.
the stream is one thing I use for that.
Yep. I've done that before with my camera where I'll set it up and I'll talk about a problem without stopping too much to think about it. I'll just kind of vomit out everything that's going on. I'll stop it. And then the next day or like a couple days later, I'll sit down and I'll watch it and I'll try and like listen to everything I said and just try and see like what's going on. And I wouldn't say that's like a super successful way of doing it, but I've found that um, recording it and putting it in like a video journal of some sort definitely helps. And you say that you've found success doing that, or that's just a habit that you kind
Yeah.
of do.
Yeah, it does help me. I didn't really, I was not a big journaler. So I never had that outlet before, but when I started doing this, I learned how to like double this as a journal when I need to, a video journal.
Okay.
And it does help. And sometimes when I'm talking things out loud to myself, I will realize possibilities or things I overlooked, and I will change my own thinking about a problem just from thinking it through out loud to myself. Sometimes I'll catch little things that I'll miss if I try to do it all in my head. So just the act of journaling and capturing it sometimes can help me catch little things, like little subtleties or nuance that I might not have picked up on initially.
Fair enough. Did you ever struggle with oh, if you wanted to make comments on the comments, I'll let you.
No, no, we're good. This is exactly what I want to focus on.
Um I found myself kind of resisting the idea of toxic masculinity because I know it's like a phenomena that people are trying to describe and I know it's a real thing, but I think
Wait,
that
well, hold on. It's a real thing.
yeah.
because I resist it too. All right, let
Okay.
go ahead. Go
Sure.
finish it.
So I think that the phrase toxic masculinity is a really bad way of conceptualizing it, because I think it's just masculinity. I don't think it's like a good or a bad thing. Maybe it's just an amoral thing. But I think my big problem with it is that people act like it's pervasive and it's everywhere, and like every man is like that. And I don't buy into that. And maybe it's just my own lived experience. But I would say that, to kind of keep my explanation as short as possible, I remember clearly in the locker room in like 2006. So this is like before toxic masculinity was trending. I remember in 2006, I'd be in the locker room and like 15 or 16 of the guys were relatively quiet, and we'd be, you know, talking about things going on in our life, or, just talking about shitty things going on in the day. And then there'd be like the four or five like baseball players and pitchers and stuff like that, football players, whatever. And they would be the guys who we would call, yeah, just like what Daniel Price says. We called it being an asshole. That's what I called it. You're just an asshole. You're not toxically masculine. You're an asshole. But those like five guys would be out of control and overly masculine, and they would be the ones to like stifle their feelings and call you a pussy if you talked about stuff like that. But I would say more often than not, if I had to talk about my emotions, which kind of came naturally to me, I didn't really find too much resistance against men if I would talk about those feelings. Maybe it's just because I'm a millennial, and I think Gen X kind of set a good example, especially in their culture, that men can have feelings, they can be sensitive, they can be a little uh, gender atypical. But I don't know. That's
Well,
just some thoughts.
is that what it breaks down to? Is just being an asshole? Like, uh, what would you call that? Male aggression, or is it being loud? Is it being energetic? Is it being rude? Why is it worked up into this thing called toxic masculinity? If it's
Well, I
just a behavior, like specific behavior, it does sound like androphobia,
what's androphobia?
fear of men,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
or
Um,
misandry.
yeah, Miss Andrew. Okay.
Y-
Yeah, I don't know. The way that I think about it is that it's how do I want to say this?
Is it a show of fake dominance to overcompensate for internal insecurity?
I mean, maybe that's probably an aspect of it. Um, I think that a big problem that people are up against that they won't admit to is that when you're talking about personality, and I don't know how much you buy into this, but like the big five personality, one of those big five traits is neuroticism. And
Hmm.
more often than not, men test lower in neuroticism, which is the tendency for negative emotion. So something happens in your life, a person who tests higher in neuroticism is going to react negatively to it. They're going to get upset. They're going to cry about it. They're going to get like pissed off, and it's going to ruin their day. Whereas someone who is low in neuroticism, that same thing happens to them. They kind of just shrug their shoulders and go, huh, because they don't really feel any negative emotion. They don't feel it. And I think people assume, the people who believe in toxic masculinity assume that your indifference of just shrugging your shoulders and going, whatever, is a way of covering something up. Whereas I believe, no, I think a lot of men, not all of them, but a lot of them, just don't really feel that negative emotion when something happens in their life.
Do you think the term? It seems like a term that comes from outside of the in group of males or masculine people. It's a term from the outside looking in, and I'm always confused whether it's referring to intense emotion, like too much emotion, too strong of male emotion, usually aggression, or which you described as indifference or lack of emotion or stifling. It seems to be both. Males are toxic when they're too emotional, and they're toxic when they're not sensitive and emotional enough or displaying the right emotions that we want to see, which contributes to the sense of it's coming from a group other than men trying to set standards and expectations for men. And I think that should come from within the group of men themselves. Like men should be developing other men, not people who are not men.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I hate to talk about like tribal people and use them as some sort of example because maybe there's a fallacy with that, but it is kind of funny when you look at people like modern people who go and investigate and kind of study tribal people. You usually find that all the men spend all day with each other and all the women spend all day with each other, and they have different conversations. They have different things that they talk about. And I think that maybe we just have a natural tendency to speak about these things and learn about them differently. And I think when we start, and I don't want to say like a universal rule, but just like in general, I think if we cross, what am I trying to say? If women start telling men how they should live their life, it's going to fuck things up a little bit. I'm not saying men shouldn't take advice from women. I'm just saying that it's it's difficult for women in general to start telling men how to live their life and how they should think and how they should react to certain things and how they should handle their emotions, because it's just different ways that I don't know how to describe it. Hopefully you see
And
what I'm getting at.
I don't fault the women for try. Like they can try whatever they want. It's the men that allow it to work. Like that's where I put the locus of the problem or the issue. Um, I think what we talked about this today when Jack Talcott came on it, and the masculine and feminine insight. There's like a little area where the masculine meets the feminine, like that little transition or liminal area, and it's like, okay, hang on. What am I trying to say? I think when men are trying to get in touch with their own emotions and determine how they feel and who they are as a man or what masculine is, and they have women on the edge of that, influencing that, their sense of masculinity and being a man is different than if they're allowed to do that process without the influence of what women think masculinity is or men should feel or what emotions. Because I think when men step into the emotional side of things and there's women involved, they bring themselves very heavily under the influence because that's mostly the woman's strong area.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if men learn to do it more independently of women or with other men, there may be different outcomes or options. Um,
Hopefully.
I don't know how you feel about another panelist. We have a guy named
Sure, yeah.
Deadpool
If
Kidro.
you
He's been pretty cool.
Sup?
Hey
Good
Deadpool,
evening.
Good evening. Well, technically, it's almost. Well, no, it's not almost
are
morning.
you East Coast?
Uh, I'm East Coast.
Daniel, it's coming from both ends. If you show sensitivity, compassion, whatever, you're a pussy. But if you show excitability, passion, aggression, even violence, which I think is valid for men, not acting on it, but the
Sure.
feeling of it, the display of it, it's also men are boxed into this very narrow range of emotion. Don't show too much on this side, and don't show too much on this side. And either side is can be characterized as toxic. No matter whichever way you dodge, you
Everyone's
risk.
toxic at some point.
Why don't we
It
just
is
all own it? I think everyone's toxic and everyone's trans, and we should just all own it. We're all trans. We're all toxic. We're all racist, and let's just move on as a society.
yeah. It is true that you get boxed into this very narrow area where it's like if you get criticized for stifling too much emotion if you don't show it at all, and then once you do start showing it, you get criticized for not being in control of your emotions, and then you get villainized because you are so out of control. So it is kind of funny. I wonder if it's coming from the same women, or if you look at it from like an individualist perspective, if like the women who believe in toxic masculinity are criticizing you for stifling your emotions, and then like the trad wives or whatever are criticizing you when you show too much emotion. I wonder if it comes from the same crowd or if it's different people.
Oh, like two different sets of women with two different responses to.
Yeah,
different
because
types of male emotion.
isn't that the big problem with criticizing an entire gender? It's like we're all individuals and we all have different intuitions and shit. It's kind of hard to just say men are like this, women are like this.
Did any of this come up in your relationship, like with you and your wife? Did she find you too stoic or too scary
No,
and
uh,
aggressive?
no, I think I told her early on, and we'd been friends for like 5 years, so she knew it. That I'm more of an emotional guy, and I'm more androgynous than the average guy, I would say, and I have like some feminine tendencies, if that's how you want to categorize it. But no, I would say I'm higher in neuroticism than she is. She would disagree, but I see how much she gets upset about things versus me, and I'm just like way out of control.
Oh,
But yeah, I was trying to answer your question as quickly as possible, but I told her that I'm more of an emotional guy, and so she's been very cool about listening to me when I need to talk and sharing her thoughts, and I'm sharing my thoughts, and it's very healthy that way.
that does sound healthy. That does.
We
I
Kidro,
think
we
what
are
about
not.
you? You? Oh, go
go.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to
I
see
would,
if Kidro had experience with being perceived as toxically masculine or too withholding emotionally or whatever.
I actually am one of those guys who like. I would say I'm pretty emotional. Um, I have I have had very complex relationships, so I don't really get out as much or stuff like that. I'm pretty um
Are you a hermit or an incel?
no, Wolf the process. Where loves the process. The stars
That was
it's
pretty
from
good.
us.
We know where to find you. We know where to go visit you.
The stars it's from us. Stupid sweat
Yeah, the
habits.
toxic masculinity to me seems like a setup. I don't trust anybody that takes that concept seriously whatsoever. I watch
Well,
gay
I
people try to get set up as mentally ill and predators and promiscuous and all kind of stuff. I don't trust. I don't trust broad generalizations about groups and like identity groups in general. So the toxic masculinity thing doesn't work on me. I'm curious what it is they're actually trying to communicate, like what the actual phenomena is
I'm
they're trying to
curious what
articulate, and it's
Anton is
different every
thinking.
time I try to break it down. Each person has some different part of masculinity they're complaining about.
well
So it's
I
just a
was just gonna
convenient
say,
term that you can roll everything you don't like about men into this one thing.
yeah.
It's
I was
called
gonna say
judgment.
it's really funny when you get into a conversation with someone who believes in toxic masculinity, and all you have to do is ask them, so what is healthy masculinity? And they'll list a bunch of feminine traits every time. And so that's when I get frustrated. It's like, no, that's just femininity. And men can be feminine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to keep those categories separate. And you're just villainizing masculinity, which some women can do. If you've ever met like some women who drive truck, they have their CDL. Those women usually are butch as fuck. And they have
BAF.
masculine tendencies, you know.
What you seem way more comfortable with your feminine. I'm getting the low bar signal. I hope y'all can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
You seem way more comfortable with your feminine energy, like just accepting it, being in touch with than I am. I have strong resistance to feminine energy in general, and knowing that I have some of it in me and everything. So,
Well, maybe you're
what
just a
was your
top.
journey there? Like, was it a process of getting comfortable with that side of yourself?
Um, I don't know if I want to make a joke or not, but maybe it was just because I was kind of an emotional kid, and I cried a lot, or I cried easily, and so I think I was always in touch with that. And then as I got to be like 12 or 15, somewhere in there, I started playing around with crossing gender norms. Like I put nail polish on and I wore eyeliner, and
Was
at
it like
some
a
point I
gothic thing, like a subculture thing, more than a
yep,
gender thing?
it It was
So-
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Okay, so it was like a My Chemical Romance phase.
No, it was more like
Don't get it
I
twisted.
have to defend myself. It was more like Slipknot and Mudvayne and Korn and System of a Down and that kind of shit. Yep. Yeah, because that was like a big thing in my high school. It's like you were either emo or you were goth, and when people put us in the same category, it's like whoa, hold on now.
So, like, just the subcultures you were in made it easier for that to not be as much of a stigma.
Yeah, because I kind of got a little bit of, I don't want to say joy, but I got entertainment out of pissing people off and weirding them out. And if I got them to look at the nail polish or the eyeliner and they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing that for? Are you a fucking girl or something?" That would make me laugh. Because it's like, yeah, look at me. I'm a guy and I got girly shit on. Like, who cares?
Did you feel oppressed by gender norms? Like, whatever people talk about when they feel oppressed by norms, I don't think it's actual oppression, but did you feel like restricted or like you had to
No,
thumb your nose at norms?
No, I never felt oppressed or anything like that. I've always felt even when it comes to being fat, because I'm fat right now, but I was fat for most of my life, and like I feel like people who are fat talk about how they want to go to the beach and they want to have their shirt off, but because Slipknot and Korn got to go, I think I would agree with that at this point. I'm not a Slipknot fan anymore by any means, but they talk about how they want to take their shirt off at the beach, but they need society to change and they need society to accept them. And my philosophy has been, no, dude, I'm fat, but I want to go to the beach and I'm going to take off my shirt and I'm just not going to care about what people think about me. And
Do you do
I
that?
think it's the same thing with gender norms, because it's like you just have to focus on how you feel about it and just that, and not worry about what anyone else.
I'm too
but
insecure to do that.
Why is that?
that's because you're internalizing those messages from strangers.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. Like I said, I guess I'm just insecure. I'm like, I don't take my shirt off like when I go in the pool or, I mean, when I go to the beach, yeah, but like, you know what I mean? I'm really like self-aware about myself.
Do you feel like you miss out at all, or like you're not living your best life because of that? Do you feel like it's restricting you a lot?
I don't feel like it's restricting. Like again, I just feel like it's more. I wouldn't say shameful. It's more like I said, self-aware, I guess.
Like self-conscious about the things you don't like
yeah,
about yourself physically.
yeah.
I think that's normal. I think everybody has that. I think some people mask it, and don't let it show, or sometimes try to have a false confidence to like cope. But we all have things about ourselves we don't like or that we would change. That we think other people notice way more than they probably do.
I'm thirsty.
And I think what's that?
I'm thirsty.
Oh,
You're thirsty.
I think I know what point you're getting at, Jeff, and I don't want to like undermine it or anything.
Oh, feel free.
But I guess I have a skepticism in my life that the average person has introspection, and maybe that's not the same thing as what you're talking about. But you were talking about how we all have an insecurity, we all have something we need to work on, that kind of thing. So maybe
I don't know if
wires.
like body consciousness is maybe that's a form of inspiration. I'm thinking of like I grew up with a lot of women, and they were always very aware of when an eyebrow was out of place or her lip liner was just a little too. It's like that hypercritical, but on a surface level. So maybe that's extrospection. Maybe
The stuff that they have to fix.
inspection of the outer
makes you late
surface.
to a concert.
The what?
The stuff that they have to fix in the mirror that makes you 5 minutes late to a concert.
Yeah, that stuff. I never had to wait around for that, so I got lucky. But I don't know if I would have missed the concert.
What was the last concert you went to, Kid Row? Maybe he's not
Maybe
at
he's
his
getting
headphones.
some
Okay.
Gatorade, some Sunny D.
What about you, Jeff? You got
Oh
a
God,
concert you just went to, or one on the
no,
horizon, or
no, I have not been to a concert in. I don't even know. I did I even go to a concert the whole time I lived in Seattle? I have an ear thing, so I stay away from loud music, loud sounds, movies. I don't go to movies. So it really limits the amount of live music I can see. So it may be like 20 or 30 years. I've only been to a few concerts in my entire life. I've been to a couple of Laurie Anderson concerts, which they're not rock concerts, so they're not that terrible. 10,000 Maniacs. I saw REM and Radiohead, but I didn't pay attention to any of it
oh,
because I
you
was
saw
drunk.
Radiohead? That's pretty cool.
Well, they were opening. That was before they were popular, and so they were the opening act. So nobody paid attention to them, and it was at the this outdoor stadium in Woodlands, and I mean in Houston called the Woodlands, and we were drunk and we stood in the back and made out with each other the whole time that Radiohead was playing because we didn't know who they are and they were just the open and we wrote them off. So we passed up like we had that opportunity right there in front of us, and we
Dude,
blew
that
it because we were
kills
only
me.
there for REM.
That's so good.
Natalie fussed at us, Daniel. It was at the university in Houston, and so like the university auditorium is like real nice and upscale and fancy, and it was a bunch of polite white people. And after every song, they would sit there and they would clap like this. And at one point, she stopped the show and she said, "If you don't get off your asses and show some enthusiasm and clap, I'm going to end the show right now and walk off stage." We were so embarrassed. I felt so bad.
Wait, what happened?
Natalie Merchant, when I saw her, she didn't feel like we were clapping enough for her. We weren't enthusiastic enough. I guess she like was looking to feed off of that energy that the audience gives the performer, and it was a bunch of like upper crust white people that were just sitting there politely clapping, and it wasn't enough
Golf
for her to
clap?
work with.
A
So then
golf clap?
everybody started giving it, standing up and giving her like standing ovations after every song.
I'd just be the guy in the back, be like, "Woo!"
Woo! Natalie! Woo! And then she'd be like security, back row. 2000 golf club. It kind of was, and she was dressed real nice too. She had a beautiful green velvet dress with her little like Mary Jane shoes and the white socks, and she looked real elegant. So the whole atmosphere, it didn't seem rock concert. It seemed more like a black tie gala event. So I could understand you know how like people want to do the right thing and they like read each other like what are we supposed to be doing in this moment, and she was kind of hard to read of should we be
Kind of like Lady Gaga.
um maybe I've never been to a Gaga concert. Gaga's
Hmm.
past my time. I grew up with Madonna.
And
I
what were
don't
your
know much
Awkward
feelings
about Gaga.
toward
silence.
Madonna? How'd you think of it?
Her first album was great. I loved it. Some of the best dance music. Like that first Madonna album set the standard for 80s pop, like dance pop, bubblegum pop, whatever. Excellent, excellent first album. And everything after that, I can't listen to. So I'd say she revolutionized the genre with that initial debut album.
I took a rock and roll history class in college just to fill in some credits, and it was actually a pretty interesting class. It was the first year they did it, so they were still kind of developing it. But I remember understanding the teacher's bias because we would be going through the decades, starting from like the early 1900s. We spent a class on like each decade, and I remember the 80s had to be split up into 2 lectures, because the first lecture she gave was on all the bands in the 80s and the influence they had, and the second lecture on the 80s was just Madonna. And it turns out that like Madonna was her favorite artist, and she just obsessed over her. So I'm like sitting in class listening all this shit about Madonna, and I'm just like rolling my eyes.
I never understood, even at that time, I never understood Madonna as a phenomena, because she was a very, very average singer. I would say subpar. It's not her voice. Her music, she didn't write a lot of her own music, and she had producers to create the music for her. She was image. She was a pop star. She was exploiting an image. It wasn't musical talent, it wasn't vocal talent, it wasn't anything that you think you would need to be successful in the musical field. But somehow she was using image alone and eclipsing all of the other elements that you think would be important for the success of a music artist. And that's what I noticed about her more than, of course, a lot of other artists were doing the same thing, but I think their music was a little better. There was some genuine musical talent for most of them. And she was doing image in a completely different, like she was doing it on a scale. Her success was on a scale that was way different than the others.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people credit her to being the reason why sex sells in the music industry. Not like she was the first person to do it, but there was something about her, and I think you described it pretty well. Something about her just was
Yeah, because
way ahead of
before
everyone.
her, we had Olivia Newton-John, we had Debbie Harry, we had people like that, but like that sex pot image, like really letting that repression out and bringing that out into the public square. I can't think of anybody before her that took it to that level in the pop genre. Because Olivia and Debbie, well, Debbie tried to be new wave and kind of punk, but Olivia tried to be wholesome and kind of cutesy and family friendly and appeal to teenage girls. Madonna did it a completely different way. Like she took our innocence to the next level. I think we were all less sexually innocent after Madonna, or we couldn't pretend to be. We couldn't pretend to be this wholesome Disney,
Yeah.
Hollywood.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. Like, do you think coming out of the 60s and the civil rights movement and all the hippie stuff that was happening, do you think for a short period of time in the 70s people were like super conservative, or do you think there was not enough time for that to swing?
It seemed like now politically, I don't know, because you had Nixon and kind of the end of the Vietnam, and then Gerald Ford was the transition, and you had Carter and the Iran stuff. But I think culturally, it seems like things had leveled in the 70s, and they figured out how to take the fun parts and the artistic parts of the 60s, but without all the controversy, the innovation, and the unrest, and they just had some groovy good times. They just found a particular groove, and it allowed people to come together, form community, party, create good feelings with each other. They had disco, they had funk, they had Soul Train. Um, the rock was like Pink Floyd. They had
Can you
glam
guys? I
rock.
know this sounds fucked up, but can you actually imagine the music we wouldn't have without the Vietnam War?
I think
Yeah,
thematically,
It
it,
sounds
it
fucked
was
up.
definitely a source for artist. It was definitely a
I don't
source
know
for
how much it
artistic
affected the
expression,
actual music itself. Like the
but it gave them
chords, the
source to work
sounds,
with, like
the textures.
material.
It gave them content, and it gave them a political rallying point. Because rock and roll was more than just a musical art form. It became like a social force and a political force. And I think Vietnam centered some of that energy. But musically itself, it seemed to come from the black blues. There were some jazz elements, and then you had Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and all of them come along in the 50s and kind of kick it up and form it into the genre. But so musically, I think it has different roots than a war, any kind of war.
I'm just saying, like, how, like, we wouldn't have a lot of different songs nowadays that we had before.
Yeah.
Hey,
like
Spike, I
Fortunate
saw you
Son.
stream it earlier. Yeah, good, glad. I was gonna stop by, but it looked pretty active. Hi.
But part of me would have to assume that even without the Vietnam War, those same people with all that talent would have found something to do, and we still would have
True.
something valuable.
True.
But I understand the point you're making, and I agree with it.
I think the music would have sounded the same, and I think that protest energy would have still been in the music. I think the lyrics, the content might have been different.
We wouldn't have Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner though.
Maybe not. I don't know.
That's
I
true.
think Hendrix might have taken the opportunity to uh, show off his talents anyway. Like that was just an opportunity to show off his guitar playing, right?
His guitar.
Yeah. Gonna leave you. Oh, okay. Are we body doubling? I love CCR. They're one of my favorite rock. The Stones, CCR from the late
CCR is
'60s.
so
That
good.
late '60s rock. I guess you could throw in Zeppelin's first album and maybe one or two other groups, but
Were
by
there any
far,
other? Because CCR, or at least some of them, are from Louisiana, aren't they?
they're California, San Francisco, El Cerrito, the Bay Area.
Really?
They,
No
yeah,
shit.
they drew on. That's what I'm saying. It was art. They confected this swampy Louisiana themed pop, but it was just
When did
artistry.
War
I
come
guess
out? The band.
W
War.
Yeah.
WAR.
Oh,
Yeah.
War. Because I was gonna say John Fogerty. I don't know if I've ever listened to an interview of him, but he sounded like he was from Louisiana whenever he sang, and the things that he sang about just
He's
sounded southern.
California, Southern California boy.
Really?
Yep.
God,
I know. I
my
even
wife
go
would
to
cry.
CCR like when I want that feeling of back home, like that good down home rock. I even go to CCR.
Hell yeah.
And the Stones too. For being a bunch of British, like white guys, art school white guys, they evoke the sound of the American South like better than almost any band.
What kind of music do you listen to, Kidro? Are you all over the board?
Yeah, I like alternative, hard rock, a little bit of soft rock. I'm all over the place.
It looks like War was 1969 to mid 70s. Yeah, Dire Straits is good. That first album that they did in '78.
That's
That's a
some
good
really
Uh,
little
cool
rock
guitar
album.
work.
Yeah, I like that classic
Pink
rock.
Floyd, great as well.
Yeah, they're good
Yep.
art rock.
David Gilmour is the
Yeah.
reason why I got into guitar in the first place. I wanted to learn the solo to Time by Pink Floyd. It was the coolest fucking thing.
Did you learn it?
I did. Yep. It's like one of the few guitar solos that I have memorized just because I played it so much.
Next time we raise you know a donation, we can let you play, and we'll have you play for charity.
Sounds good.
So
I'll get to practicing it. Get it back
the
into get the rust out.
We'll make you play through the fire and the flames.
Oh God. Only on Guitar Hero. Otherwise, I'm not going anywhere.
the echoes. Oh my God, Daniel, you took it out. That's what I was about to say. That live at Pompeii echoes. That those guitar solos.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
Can you
that
imagine, like, without the influence of the surround sound of money?
It was. Have you ever done the Wizard of Oz thing with Dark Side of the
Dark
Moon?
Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
My
Have you done
friends
the
did
Wizard of
it.
Oz thing?
I was around when my friends did it, but because I wasn't familiar with Dark Side of the Moon back then. It didn't mean anything to me. It was just
Oh,
like
okay.
an album with the TV show playing in the background. But I didn't have a sense of the music and the nuances of the music to notice the parts where they match up.
I've never done that.
It's pretty cool. I watched it when I was like 17, and that was before I tried like any drugs, so I did it like sober. I'd like to watch it now after.
We could do it in the Discord one day. How far? Because isn't the movie longer than the album? So does it only carry you through part of the
Yeah,
movie?
it only gets you like 45 minutes or something like that into the movie,
Oh.
maybe 50 minutes. But I'm pretty sure there is a YouTube video. I'm sure you could find one where someone already has it synced up.
So we can do a movie night one day.
Yeah, we do movie nights all the time. If there's ever anything, are you in the Discord? If there's ever anything you
No,
want to
I'm not.
watch,
I'm not a Discord. Do I have to have antlers in order to be in the Discord?
no, you just have to have a Discord account. No, we're very come as you are.
Come as I am.
Yeah, but if there's movies you want to watch, just throw them up in the Discord, and there might
All
be
right.
people that want to join.
So let me see. Where's the Discord?
I will
Discord.
put you an invite in the back. 1 second.
Discord. Discord.
And anybody else, if you need a Discord invite, just hit me up at Gen X Jeff on Discord.
Yeet.
There you go.
Well, Jeff, I think that might be it for me.
My
for the night.
business is done.
Anton, it was an absolute joy.
Hey, man,
hope
thanks
you-
for having me on.
I'll be doing more often, and take care. We'll talk again.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good to
You
talk to you,
too.
Kid Row.
Yeet.
Liliana, is it the one with I turned one on the other day too. Was it the one with Stormy Daniels and Frankie Muniz or whoever? I started watching it too, and I got sucked in, and then I forgot to go back to it. Because I've watched all the original Surreal Lives, like the one with Omarosa and Jazz Dickinson, and all that. Yes. The new one. Oh, I'm sorry. My Discord name is just 2 Fs. All right, Kidro, you got anything you want to end with or promote or put out there into the universe?
Well, normally I would just go right to bed, but before I go to bed, I would subscribe to Gen XF.
Oh, yes, please, if you haven't
I
already.
and if you don't know, like when he's gonna do his little broadcast, what you could do is you could just ring that bell button right there, like a doorbell.
Daniel.
Promote me, Jeff.
Here, I'm going to put your channel. Go give Deadpool. Let me see. Why can't I find it? Go give. Where the hell is your channel?
I'm going to start a new channel, so you guys don't have to go.
It's in the
subscribe to
description, but I'm going to put it in the chat too. Go
All
give
right.
Deadpool a like and subscribe. Is it just Deadpool Kidro?
that. Yeah.
All right. Go give this dude a like and subscribe.
I need the attention, please.
Yeah, we want to grow your channel. What are you up to? 145. And I just checked my numbers. I was a little worried with the latest drama I would drop subscribers, but it's still on the ascent. So I really appreciate people sticking with me. I appreciate the support.
I love you all.
Yeah, I'm here to do health. That's what I'm trying to offer. So we'll get past the drama and get back to the health.
All right. I gotta go. I got a cat stuck in the radiator. I'll see y'all later.
Okay. I guess it's yeah. I hope go take care of the cat. All right, I'm gonna head to the Discord. Speaking of, hopefully Frank and Bex are still out there for another episode, and don't know if I'll be back tonight. I might have pushed it as much as I want to push it tonight, but who knows? I might get some second wind and show back up here. If not, definitely see you tomorrow, and have a good rest of your night. Take care. Yeah. Thank you.